Our segmented weekly feature of Women in Business, the manufacturing industry in Kenya was one of the few industries that remained resilient during the pandemic. According to the World Bank collection of development indicators, the manufacturing value added percentage of GDP in Kenya was at 7.6% in 2020. Today on Women in Business, Vivian Wandera spoke to Zia Bett Nyamari, the owner and founder of Zia Africa clothing line that manufactures clothes locally.
The manufacturing industry in Kenya is one of the industries that remained resilient all through 2020 despite the harsh effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today on Women in Business, we are speaking to Zia Bett, the owner and founder of Zia Africa, a clothing line that makes clothes locally and sells them to women. So Zia, how did the idea for Zia Africa come about?
At the time that I began Zia Africa, there was no good quality and affordable clothing that was unique. So I struggled looking for clothes that I wouldn't find other women in, and I began importing clothes that I couldn't find anywhere here, and people liked that about our business.
What was your initial investment in the business?
So initially, I used to buy clothes from Gikomba, which was like about 2,000 shillings, and take to my friends in school over the weekends when they would go out and sell to them. And then later, when I traveled, I managed to convince my sister to invest 60,000 and for importing clothing to Kenya. Yeah. So after that, we did business for a few years. That was 2013. So we did business between 2013 and 2019, and then I opened a shop, and then in 2020, COVID happened. So I was pregnant at the time. COVID has happened. I closed shop immediately. And then I had 3 months to re-strategize and think, okay, COVID has happened and clearly it's not going anywhere. So how can I make the most of this situation? So I began doing research. I began looking at manufacturing companies, suppliers that could produce locally. And I came upon Zia Africa, the brand and the idea of making local women's clothing and exporting to the rest of Africa and the world.
Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. The manufacturing industry is one of the industries that remained resilient throughout the pandemic. How did your business perform during this time?
My business thrived actually in 2020 and 2021 because that's when we began locally producing, and there was a lot more uptake for e-commerce and social media when it comes to online deliveries, and people being at home made it easy for us to, reach out to them, engage with them, and for them to even trust and know our brand. So that's when we began our website. We began our website when COVID happened because we saw there was a need for a place where you can come to, you find all the clothes that you need, a wide variety, and beautiful pieces at that.
What would you say is the cost of production for you?
The cost of production varies on the pieces. So there's pieces that are a bit more complicated, which may take more time and may use more expensive fabric. And then there's pieces that may take a shorter time and not the same type of fabric. So maybe for like a top that you're wearing, which is Zia Africa, to make that top would be like 1 meter or 1.5 meters, which goes at about 200 to 300 shillings. And then we have to think about the overheads, the electricity, the tailors, and the time that they take to make the dresses. So it depends on the piece.
How do you ensure that you stay on your creative edge?
Well, I'm a morning person, and I believe in routines and discipline and planning. So one of the things I do, I wake up every day at 4:30, some days 3 a.m. I take time before everyone has woken up, to internalize how I'd like the day to go, how the day was yesterday. I reflect, I journal, I read, and I work out, all before 7 a.m. So that's one of the ways, actually, my team can tell you most of the messages I send are before 7 a.m. because that's when I can think the best. Now in the age we're in, we had the pandemic, we now have social media, we have so many things that happen every single day. So it's a VUCA world where you just have to learn how to to listen to your customers, listen to what's happening, and be very ready to change many times, and be willing.
So what would you say are some of the challenges you face in your line of work?
In my line of work, I'd say number one, keeping tailors. Yeah, training and keeping tailors, good tailors at that. Secondly, I think this is just for any business, access to finance. To scale and grow, you need finance, and you need access to finance. So many entrepreneurs can go to a bank or go to an investor, but for them to believe in your business or buy into your vision, it takes a lot. So it's been a challenge. I think lastly would just be the competition. Fashion is so saturated. So just setting yourself apart from the other brands, maybe on Instagram, and really knowing what the direction you're going and your vision and sticking to it.
What advice would you give other women who are looking to start their own businesses?
Well, would I have one piece of advice? But I think one of the things that have helped me along this journey is discipline, being very disciplined and trusting your gut. You have so many people who have ideas, who have comments, who have suggestions. Know who to listen to and who to weed out, and then look for a mentor. One of the things that have helped me even during this pandemic was getting a mentor who can, advise you, who can guide you, someone who's been there, someone who's done that, and can help you avoid the mistakes that maybe they made.
So there you have it. Zia has managed to grow her business from 2013 to date, from sourcing clothes from Gikomba to importing them and manufacturing them locally. For KTN News, I'm Vivian Wandera in Ngara, Nairobi.
Now you know how actually the clothing industry was impacted and even recovery of it. Well,